Hi there, it's Bruce Wallace from Dundee and Victoria Chess Club in Bonnie, Scotland, and I'm going to plug the internet chess server worldchess.net, which I've got a couple of months free membership of to try out. I can't praise this site too highly. Very welcoming site. You can play as many games as you like at your own pace, and it's a bit better than postal chess, because I used to play a bit of postal chess, but it was really annoying having to fill in and post off and wait for so long on moves when you wanted to play on. And some games move on at a fair pace. So I'm going to present a game that I've actually played on the server. It was my first game actually. And now my handle on this site is bruciebaby, and my opponent here is ishouldbeworking from the States. And it's a Scotch, so let's kick off with the game. I'm white, so I played e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6. Now, just to point out, on this site, one of the features is that if you play an interesting game, you can ask for it to be annotated by a higher rated player. And Nexon on worldchess.com has annotated this and come up with some interesting lines, and it's more of interest as to what I missed as to what I actually achieved, although I did win the game. d4, pawn takes, and we've got a Scotch here. Bishop c5, bishop e3, queen f6, c3. This is a fairly common position. In fact, King Crusher posted a game between Nigel Short and Garry Kasparov, and this was exactly the same position. Knight gt7, bishop c4, and I'm actually playing Kasparov's moves here, castles, bishop b6, and then I did here play the move that Kasparov did play in the similar sort of position, which was knight c2, d6, bishop takes, giving black double pawns, then knight e3, knight e5, bishop back to e2, bishop to e6, and you will note here that the a2 pawn is attacked by the rook on a8 and by the bishop on e6. So it's en prise here, but I decide first of all to nudge the knight. He plays the knight back here. Now I could have played a passive move like perhaps a3 here, but I decided to activate my knight and to go for an attack on the king side. But it gives up the pawn with bishop takes a2. Now Nexon, the annotator, suggested that this was justified if black was going to go for a win here, but proposed instead, in fact, that rook takes a2 is a better move, because it more or less forces me to take, though I don't have to immediately, and thereby reducing the amount of material gives black an advantage in the endgame. But not so. If white plays aggressively with a move like knight g4, queen g6, then rook takes, bishop takes, this in fact is a significant advantage to white, because f5 attacking the queen, queen g5, g3. Now black must play a move like knight c8, because in fact the queen is in danger of getting trapped, because after h4 it didn't have many escape squares. If it moved to, for example, in this position, h5, then knight f6 check wins the queen. Or does it? No, it doesn't. But the queen is running out of squares, so knight c8 in fact allows the queen to get out of trouble. But queen e7 and then queen a1, and in fact the bishop is trapped because the bishop has no escape squares. So an interesting little position that the rook capture of a2 in fact doesn't work on deeper analysis. However, after knight d2 it was bishop takes a2. Then I lunged into the attack on the king side, d5, then knight g4 attacking the queen, queen g5, then f6, now knight g6. Now this isn't a particularly good move because it takes away g6 from the queen, and the queen comes under significant pressure here. A better move there in fact was g takes f. Now if you look at the annotations for the game, there is a line that shows black getting out of trouble. And emerging with a pawn up. However, black played knight g6, but this allows the rook to come in attacking the queen. Queen h4, g3, then queen h3. And now I played e5. missing the very simple bishop f1, which traps the queen and wins the game outright. Black is losing the queen for a minor piece. Why I didn't play that, I'm unsure. Remembering that this is a postal game, so I should have time to think about it. Then Black played bishop c4. I took the bishop. An exchange of the rooks. Queen took. Then the knight came off, and then I played e6. So I decided just to go all out to storm Black's king here. Black played knight c5. Another line here, however, was f takes e6. Bishop takes, and the pawn's pinned, recommended that king moves, then rook g5, defending the knight, with a fair advantage actually to white. So an interesting possibility that. However, after e6, Black played knight c to e5, so I took the pawn, then knight took, then I took the other pawn on g7, king took, knight e3, rook e8, and then I played bishop g4, attacking the queen. Now here, the annotator did point out that I missed a nice little combination, starting with bishop f1. If queen goes to h6, the exchange sacrifice, temporary exchange sacrifice of rook takes f7. Then if king takes, bishop takes check, king back here. It couldn't go to e7 because of the fork, knight fork on f5. But then queen f1, and the king can't go to either of these squares because it loses the queen. So Black drops a piece, so it'll have to interpose knight f4 to stop the loss of the queen. So that just won outright. So I missed that combination. After rook e8, I played bishop g4, attacking the queen, queen h6, then knight takes pawn, b5, then queen f1. Now here again, I missed my third opportunity to win the queen, very simply with rook h5. The queen has no squares. All of these squares are covered by white pieces. So why bother taking the queen, I would ask. So instead I played queen f1, b takes, then rook takes f7 check, king takes, rook takes c7, and then queen e3 check. Now this apparently is the decisive mistake by Black here, because knight e5, everything's intact. I have no checks. The bishop is attacked, and although Black is a pawn down, the position is exactly equal. So there's no direct win here for white. However, Black played the queen check first. I played king g2, knight e5, probably not the best. Queen f5 here. Black now played queen h6. A better move here was probably queen d2, king h3, queen h6, and bishop h5, which is what I expected, although white's got a big advantage and is a pawn up. However, after queen f5 it was queen h6, then rook c8, queen f8. This allows me to come in with checks on the king, king g5, knight g6, queen d5 check, king h8, then queen d4 check. In fact, after queen d5, Black resigned, because after king h8, queen d4 check, one example being king g8, I've got moves like bishop e6 check, and I'm going to win the queen. King f7 and rook takes f8, and white's winning, so Black resigned. So an interesting little game there that was annotated for me, and I can't recommend this site too highly, worldchess.net. So everybody on YouTube, pop on the internet and have a look at some of the fabulous features there. I'm really enjoying it, and I'm going to take out a full membership. See you soon on YouTube.